Well, that looks good.
Are we streaming?
Yeah. Good evening. It is Wednesday, August 24th, 2022, and coming to you live from the Lonely Tree Media Studios in Yakima, Washington. This is the Best Lamm Sports Show. I'm your host, David Lamm, and with me is my son, Parker. Say hello, Parker.
Hello, Parker.
Yelled it. Yeah, right? We're... All right, enough. Relax. Simmer down. These people. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter, at Lamm Sports. We're on Facebook under the Best Lamm Sports Show. You can send us an email, lammsports@gmail.com, and please check out the webpage, which is, of course, lammsports.com. It's pretty easy. It's a pattern, in case you guys didn't notice. We haven't done a show in a couple weeks. It's been a little while. We got some things to talk about. The NFL football is getting ready to kick off without Deshaun Watson for a little while anyway. We're going to discuss that suspension and fine. The WNBA Playoffs going on right now. Sabrina Ionescu and the New York Liberty were matched up against the Chicago Sky in the first round. College football. The College Football Playoff Board of Managers. And by the way, I had no idea that there's the selection committee. There's the board of directors, and there's a board of managers. And I'm so confused as to why we need 57 people involved that don't really do anything other than select the teams that are in. But anyway, the board of managers met to discuss moving forward, the direction of major college football moving forward. And then the NCAA revamped the targeting rule. We're going to talk about that a little bit. The AP preseason polls out. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the game ones in college football. And there's some other stuff involved here that we're going to talk about. But, yeah, pretty exciting, huh? I mean, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, yeah.
That's
very true. Just happy to be back into football season.
Just days away from college football.
Yeah, just get it back now.
Right? This weekend. So first part of the show is brought to you by The Range. The Range is Central Washington's premier indoor shooting destination. If you haven't checked them out, go to therangellc.com. You'll find all of the training, membership, and VIP information and opportunities. Check out their calendar under the events tab, and you can find the complete schedule of classes and activities for the month. You can enroll for most of the events and training online with a few simple clicks. Open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 7, Sunday 11 to 5. Go see our friends at The Range, 1701 Garrettson Lane in Yakima. The phone number, 509-571-1449. Make sure you mention the Best Lamm Sports Show. The Range, educate, equip, and empower. Okay, so, Deshaun Watson. We're going to start with the NFL and Deshaun Watson because, well, you know what? Let's start with the trivia question.
Okay.
Because I can. Let me back up. So, just because if I don't do it now, I'll forget, and then we'll be halfway through, and you won't have any time to think of the answer. Best Lamm Sports Show trivia question brought to you by Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. We're going to talk about I'm referencing the four major sports: basketball, football, baseball, and hockey. Okay? When I ask this question. What team from what year had the worst winning percentage in the regular season and went on to win the title in their sport that year? That's the question. And I thought about this.
I know the answer.
And I thought about this because of the Liberty are in the playoffs. The New York Liberty are in the playoffs with a horrendous record. And you know how many teams get in the NBA playoffs with losing records. And, I was just sitting there thinking, how bad can you be and still win a title? That was my question. So, anyway.
I bet pretty bad.
Well, I mean, so now we can talk about Deshaun Watson because, that's what we're here for. The NFL, the NFLPA, and Deshaun Watson settled on a 11-game suspension and a fine of $5 million for violating the league's personal conduct policy. This came after Watson was initially suspended 6 games by an arbitrator, a neutral party, sort of.
Independent arbitrator.
Independent, quote unquote. Where's my air quotes? Anyway, so here's the question. Mm-hmm. After all this, and they went through all this, is an 11-game suspension appropriate for what he may or may not have done? And I say that only because we really don't know.
Right. saying it exactly that way, no.
Mm-hmm.
If you say it in the way that after, so the problem is like once you kind of, it would seem almost disrespectful to continue to like criticize someone's not value, but like multiple groups of people have reviewed this and determined that there were no crimes committed, right?
Right.
So that's beyond dispute that people have come to this conclusion, right? Not the conclusion that he's not necessarily a good guy or that he's done some less than ethical things, but not illegal things. That's the one thing that these groups of people can decide on, that he didn't necessarily do anything illegal, just creepy, right? and we can't arrest people for being creepy.
Right.
So that's the issue that you're running into, is all of this needs to be tied to legality. It should be tied to legality. I do think there's like an ethical side to this, and if you want to do that, great. Suspend him forever.
Right.
If you're not going to suspend him forever, how can you possibly justify different lengths of suspensions when there's nothing nothing there like to fall back on? Your case is around, well, nobody found you guilty, nobody could find any sort of reason to indict you, but we don't like the way it looks.
Right.
And that is the tackiest reason to suspend somebody, I think. So no, 11 games is not appropriate. It should be life. He should never be allowed to play in the NFL anymore. But if you're not going to do that, then really I don't see how you're capable of suspending him at all. And at which point these numbers are just arbitrary. Sure, 11 games is perfect. It's a perfect number. 12 would have been perfect. 15 would have been perfect. I don't care. It doesn't matter because none of it's enough or it's too much.
You can't have arbitration without arbitrary. Just FYI. I don't know. Okay, so let's talk about. I don't even know.
Every time I think of arbitration, there's an episode of It's Always Sunny where the gang is trying to figure out who owes money for a lottery ticket or something like that. Who owes money for a lottery ticket, because Dennis bought the ticket with money they took from Charlie. Charlie took the money from Mac, who found it on the ground, and so they go visit 4 different independent arbitrators.
Trying to figure out what's
trying
right.
to get an answer that's right and just for everyone in the group. And it was like a $10 lottery ticket.
And I feel like the NFL does that. I feel like that's what they're doing. Is it just like, let's find somebody, it's independent. Oh, I don't like that outcome. Let's find another one.
It's exactly what happened in the show. They're all at the table arguing, and the lady throws out a suggestion. They're all like, "You don't know what you're talking about," and then they're sitting down with a different one.
This is just dumb.
But I don't see how you do it.
So let's talk about this lady right here, Lauren Baxley, for just a minute. Lauren Baxley is the last remaining, plaintiff. That's the right term, right?
She's
suing him still. She hasn't dropped her lawsuit. She's the only one left that hasn't settled, and she made a statement, and her statement was basically this: I've rejected all settlement offers in part because they have not included any sincere acknowledgement of remorse or wrongdoings, nor have they included any promises of rehabilitative treatment. And I can get behind that. If this is truly something that happened, and she stays with her guns, you know what I mean, and is convinced that there's something bad happened, then there probably was. I mean, I'm going to say that just because, not that there's evidence, but she's not willing to settle because number one, he wouldn't say I'm sorry and that I did anything wrong. He's absolutely going to never admit to that, right? Because that would be bad. If he admitted that something was wrong, then there'd be other issues. So he can't, right?
Right. That's why when people are like, "Oh, he hasn't said I'm sorry. He doesn't seem very remorseful." It's like, his attorneys are telling him very carefully, because he's a man who's worth a lot of money, to shut up. Don't say things. Don't look certain ways. Don't do these things. It's not that he isn't necessarily remorseful. I don't know if he is or isn't. I don't know.
Right.
But he has a big, big legal team around him saying, do not do these things.
Right.
So people have the wrong expectation of what he's going to offer.
Right.
Because everyone's just like, oh, well, just do the right thing, just apologize. Well, if you apologize, you admit guilt.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that. Doing the right thing and just apologizing is the most overrated thing on earth.
Well, it's true, but she went on to say that Watson still refuses to admit that he has harassed and committed indecent assault against me. Any settlement offer he has made has been a dismissal of his evil actions, and I know that unless there is an authoritative intervention, he will continue his destructive behavior. Which that's absolutely
plays to what I just said a second ago for the first part.
That's absolutely true, in that if you don't get punished for it officially, you're not going to change what you're doing. You're going to keep doing it. I mean, if there's no you don't have to do the time. You're just going to keep doing the crime.
Punishments are. The problem is punishment is subjective, right?
Well, so
Deshaun Watson may have already come out the other side of this going, I have got to change my ways.
He may have.
Like, he might already be on the straight and narrow. He might be like, haha, I got away with it. No big deal.
But the takeaway from the casual fan, the perspective of the casual fan is, hey, he went out and assaulted enough women, whether it would be verbal or whatever. He assaulted.
Well, it wasn't physical. There's no indication of that ever. So it was verbal.
Okay.
It's a verbal assault.
But I don't know that.
It's more harassed.
I don't have it.
We know that. That's what the grand jury was looking to see. Was there any indication of physical assault in addition to a verbal assault? And they couldn't come up with enough evidence of one or the other.
I understand that. What I'm saying is, if there's 24 women that accused you of something, there's probably 124 women that didn't.
Maybe.
And probably one of them, maybe there was something in there. I mean, that's all I'm saying. We don't know that that's not true. We don't know it is. I'm just saying that is the normal way of that happening, is that if for every person, think about it, for every person that gives a restaurant a terrible review, how many people just don't say anything? There's hundreds that just don't say anything because they're just not coming back. They're not going to deal with that anymore. That's what I'm getting at. This is, if there's one person and one squeaky wheel, there was 100 of them that weren't.
Maybe that's assumptive, right?
Yes,
you're just assuming that if somebody's done one thing wrong, they've done multiple things wrong.
No, that's not what I said. I didn't say he did multiple things. Well, we know he did multiple things wrong. There was 24 women.
Well, but also a jury said he didn't. There's not enough evidence to say that he did anything wrong.
There's not enough evidence
to say he did anything wrong. It's exactly. I said that exactly the way that it's supposed to be intended.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the problem with Deshaun Watson thing, is everything is splitting hairs because there's not one shred of proof.
Here's the problem.
Anything.
Okay.
That's all that there needs to be, and this would just be like, bam, 2-year suspension.
What do you want? So what do you want? An audio recording? You think they should have recorded every massage and said, "Oh, here's what so and so said to me"? Is that is that normal? It's
an unfortunate position to be in, where you're in. I mean, there's patient rights and things like that, but I mean, that's what's probably gonna. I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear what the complaint about it is, but the fact of the matter is that there isn't. It's just unfortunate.
Got it.
It is terrible that you happen to be in a profession where you have the opportunity to get taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Taken advantage of being a strange term, because so far every indicator that I've had and everything that I've read does not say that he forced himself onto or into anyone. He was suggestive, but when he was told no, it stopped. But the fact that he asked is the harassment. The fact that he asked is the inappropriate action. So nothing says that it was like a continued pressure to push on people, at least not that I've read. I mean, if there is out there, I'd love to know more about it. I just don't. The problem with the Deshaun Watson thing is everything is splitting hairs, because you can make whatever guess. You can go, well, if he's done it to 1, then he's done it to 60.
Right.
Or you can go, well, he didn't do it to any. Because there's no proof that he did it to any. It can all go any way. And that's what makes the suspension so difficult. It doesn't matter what number you throw out there. It's going to be okay.
My issue is, like I was going to say, was the casual fan, what they see is 24 women file a lawsuit, right?
Right.
And they see Deshaun Watson sign a deal for guaranteed $200 million worth of money.
Right.
That's his punishment. That's what they're gleaning from this. That's what the general public is going to glean from this. This man is rich no matter what happens to him.
Right.
And that's what he got out of it.
Did he sign the contract before or after he was indicted, or was they declined to indict?
It's after.
It was after. So so no team would take him, and then as soon as it went through a grand jury and there was not enough evidence to prosecute, Then they were like, okay, well, he's not done anything wrong. At least nothing he can be charged with doing wrong. And so now we're going to take the chance on him. So it's not like he got that deal while it was all still waiting to move at all.
Mm-hmm.
These teams waited to make sure that legally he wasn't going to be going to jail or going to be in trouble like that. Now, civil court's a whole other thing. You can sue your neighbor for whatever the hell you want. These people can sue him for whatever the hell they want. It's just is what it is at that point. A civil suit's a civil suit. I mean,
so
have you ever watched have you ever seen like a civil court case docket? It is the most ridiculous crap. It's like,
oh, sure.
Bob put a tree on my property,
right?
And now oak
so
nuts are falling on my car and put dents in it. I need $500 to repair it.
Right. I guess my issue is where these things. The NFL has no clear-cut policy on suspension. What is
right.
what it should be, what the guidelines are, because
right.
Calvin Ridley was suspended for an entire season,
right,
for betting on football.
But we had evidence.
He was betting on the Falcons,
right,
which again I don't think is wrong. You do that every time you suit up.
Whether or not we agree with it, it's written in the rules that you can't bet.
I understood.
And then not only did you get not only did people think it happened, then there was evidence that it did happen. You just legitimately broke a rule.
Understood, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that part of it. What I'm getting at is he was suspended 16 games for what the casual observer, what the casual fan is going to say was nothing. He bet on his own team to win. You're doing that every time you take the field. That's why you sign a contract. I bet this team is going to win.
Yeah, that's a way to boil down playing football.
Sure, I mean that's what I'm doing. Otherwise, I wouldn't be playing for you.
Yeah. But again, there's a rule there that says don't bet.
But hold on. So
he did bet.
Yeah.
There's evidence.
Yep.
That's that.
Yep.
There's a rule there that says don't commit any crimes. Deshaun Watson was accused of a crime.
Yep.
Grand jury failed to indict. Now we're in the limbo of he said, she said in civil court. There's no without. I swear to, if there was anything, this would have been done. It would have been a massive.
I hear you. Well, would it have been though?
It would have been.
Let me back up. Yeah. Ray Rice was suspended indefinitely.
Right.
He was originally suspended for 2 months because of the domestic violence charge, and after the video surfaced of him punching, he got suspended indefinitely, which lasted 12 weeks.
Right.
They reinstated him after 12 weeks. So his indefinite suspension was 12 weeks. He got 12 weeks for that.
After the end of the season?
No. So
he was reinstated during the season?
November 28th, after the first 12 weeks of the 2014 season. Yeah. He was reinstated. The same year.
What?
He never got signed.
I'm not saying you're lying, but yeah, he was never going to get signed again. It didn't matter when you reinstated him.
Yeah, because the bad publicity would have been.
Was he cut already?
Oh yeah, Baltimore had already cut him. Yeah.
All right, so they reinstated him to go to work for no one.
Well, that's basically. But still, they reinstate. Why would you reinstate him? That's
you've been reinstated, but your job's no longer here, and you no longer work here.
Here we're gonna just say it's over, and if someone wants you, you can still play NFL football. That was a no. Josh Brent in 2013, Dallas Cowboys. He was suspended 10 games for his role in the 2013 drunken driving death of a teammate.
Right.
Right. He was also sentenced to 180 days in jail and 10 years of probation. But that's only a 10-game suspension in the NFL. You can drive poorly and kill someone. DUI being the example, and that brings us back. That brings us to Dante Stallworth, right? Who was suspended for how long? 1 season.
So, and what did he do? When Dante Stallworth did?
Dante Stallworth struck and killed a pedestrian in Miami.
Gotcha.
We're driving drunk.
First of all, they can't defend drunk driving, but pedestrians are assholes. So there's that. People in crosswalks suck.
That was only 13 years ago. Is it too soon?
People in crosswalks generally suck.
Walk
faster or don't. I mean, whatever. But that's not all right. That's my rant for the end of the day. For my minute, we're gonna talk about crosswalks. But so the difference in all of these is you can chalk up all of these to an individual moment of idiocy.
Yeah.
It culminated in a moment where you did something so stupid, so brain dead,
right?
And that's it. if there was, like I said, if there was even one shred of evidence of Deshaun Watson's thing, you would have been able to take that and kind of say, well, if it happened here, I guarantee it happened in all these.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been a single moment of idiocy. It would have been a pattern of idiocy. Those people don't get to come back very often. Those people don't get that many second chances. So yes, I think if there was anything, his suspension would have been fairly massive, given the volume of people that came forward.
And the rest of these suspensions that the NFL's had that are longer than his were about the same time, about the same amount. Were substance abuse related. So
yeah, and again, the things with substance abuse, you can say that it's culminating in a moment, right? That's what we're gonna say about Ruggs. Ruggs is suspended indefinitely. Yeah, and it culminated in a dumb moment. Marshawn Lynch just got a DUI. I mean, he's not playing anymore, but it's just craziness. I don't see how you can up his suspension without suspending him for a massive amount of time.
Well, there's a $5 million fine, which I'm sure the Cleveland Browns are going to pay.
Well, they paid it to him in the guaranteed money.
Probably.
That's what there's talk that owners are pissed, and the reason they're pissed is because the reason his guaranteed contract was so big was to cover any potential fines that the league might impose. But because you made a big guaranteed contract, you skew the quarterback market now.
Yeah.
So
okay. So this all brings the question. So there's 11 game suspension, and you know that Deshaun Watson's going to be out for 11 games, which means Jacoby Brissett, more than likely, is the starting quarterback in Cleveland, right?
Maybe.
Okay. So that
I think they're saying they're going to lean on him.
So that being said, is Jacoby Brissett good enough to keep Cleveland in playoff contention in what is arguably a fairly poor division? Is he good enough? And by all accounts, from what I've seen him play at numerous places, he's decent. He's a pretty good backup quarterback.
Yeah.
So I just don't. Does it change your perception of how the Cleveland Browns will do this year, knowing the suspension went from 6 to 11?
No, I mean it. I think Jacoby Brissett is serviceable. I think in that regard, they can get through a lot of hurdles. I think it benefits them that they've got Carolina and the Jets and the Falcons in their first 4. But there's that's helpful. You got the Patriots in week 6. No one's expecting them to be all that great. They have a bye in week 9. So I don't see. There's a strong chance they're going to lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, and they could be sitting at maybe 6 if you include the Steelers, but they could be sitting on a winning record then.
They could be, but they'll be roughly 500, is my guess.
Yeah, they'll be roughly 500.
That's kind of what we were thinking anyway.
Kind of all you really needed, because if Deshaun comes back in week 13 and you manage to take out the Texans and the Bengals, you can sneak one off the Ravens, the Saints, the Commanders. Next thing you know, you're at 10 wins.
Conspiracy theorists will tell you that 11 games, and he gets to come. The first game he's eligible to play is against Houston.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty sneaky.
That's pretty amazing to me that you did that. I mean, I mean, I'm not saying they did it on purpose, but I'm saying they probably did it on purpose, because that would make for good TV.
I was watching old commercials the other day, and there's an old Connect 4 commercial where the guy's playing with his sister.
Very sneaky.
And she says she's like, I won. He goes, where? She goes, right there. He goes, diagonal. Pretty sneaky.
Pretty
sis.
sneaky. That's what it was. Pretty sneaky. Sis. I remember that commercial.
So I just thought about that when the NFL scheduled. Yeah. I was like, pretty sneaky.
Oh my gosh. And so then brings up question number 17, I guess, in the whole thing. Jimmy G to Cleveland?
Jimmy G to Cleveland? Maybe. I mean, I don't know what they're doing.
Would they be able to afford Jimmy G for 1 year, a 1 year deal? You come play for us for the first 11 games and be our guy. And then the second question is, if Jacoby Brissett comes out and they're 9-2 after 11 games, Deshaun Watson's not coming on that field.
If Jimmy G goes to that team, you start looking at their early season, or you start looking at all those maybe might hit, might miss games, and go, damn, they could be 8-3.
That's what I'm
Or
saying.
whatever.
So
And then you're like, that suspension means nothing.
Right. So no, if one of these backup quarterbacks or they go out and get one are good and they're in that 8-3, 9-2, even 7-4. If your team was 7-4 behind Jacoby Brissett at that point, and you're going to be probably on top of the division or if not second, right?
Right.
Would you put in Deshaun Watson just because he's available?
If I got Jimmy G and he's been tearing it up for me, Deshaun, you're going to sit.
Yeah.
I'll let Jimmy G play out the year.
Right.
Deshaun will sit. We'll get you back in next year. The world will be good. They'll forget about your misdoings. People got a short memory.
That might be the best way to go. That could be the best case scenario is that they play well without him.
But if you're sitting at that 500 spot, I think you take your. I mean, you brought him here. You're dealing with all the crap. You might as well just play him.
I suppose. All right.
Just go ahead and put him on the field.
Just thoughts. I don't know anything about anything. So we saw. If you watch the Giants play Cincinnati on Sunday in the 25-22 loss, the win. Sorry, the Giants won. Kayvon Thibodeau, former Oregon Duck, took a shot on the knee by Bengals tight end Thaddeus Moss. It was by all accounts a legal hit, but
allegedly
should it be? Anytime, and you can watch it. I mean, I can't get a picture of it for whatever reason. Nobody has an actual clear one frame picture of the event that's in a usable format. But anyway, Moss lowers his head, lowers his shoulder, and literally goes down about as far as you can go. He is aiming for the legs. And not midsection or thigh or, you know what I mean, like you're supposed to, I guess, for those kind of blocks. You're allowed to hit him in the thigh. But he had no idea where he was going to hit him. He turned his head, turned his shoulder. He just threw his body down. And so those kind of blocks, I feel like, why aren't those outlawed just in general? Because if you have no control of your body and you're just hurtling your body at someone with no idea what you're going to hit, that's clearly reckless.
It's clearly reckless, yeah.
Oh, so I just feel like that's something the NFL is going to have to address at some point. This is not good. They're not going to get a penalty or a fine or anything. I mean, for any of this, nothing's going to happen to this guy. But you can't keep allowing players to do that. And you see it all the time. You see it a lot with defensive backs. Turn and throw their body at whoever's coming at them.
Yeah, I have seen it a ton with defensive backs.
And that's because that's
a very common move.
They're outmanned. They're outsized. You know, I get that a little.
Yeah, usually.
Usually this is the only way I'm going to be able to bring down the tight end who has the football is if I throw my body at his legs. Which, you know, but you watch them, you see it more and more, guys going for hits and not tackles. You know, they're trying to make a big hit, so they throw their shoulder in and drill some guy without any intent to tackle him, just hoping I can knock the ball loose or I can knock him down.
Right.
And so tackling is a lost art in general. There are a few guys out there who are really good at it, but in the NFL, you don't see it anymore. You don't see tackling. You see hitting. And so the NFL all concerned about hits on kickoff returns. Well, you got to stop this. You got to stop these kind of plays too.
Right. There are other problems out here that long before.
Anyway,
before that,
it's part of the NFL's randomness. The NFL has some random things. Suspensions are one of them.
They just kind of solve problems whenever they want to.
Yeah.
And not other times. They'll be like, oh, okay, I guess this is an issue, so we'll go ahead and make a statement on this. Right. And it's like, why this? Why didn't you do it earlier?
It's interesting.
Yeah, classic NFL.
Thibodeau remained on the ground after the play was over, but he eventually walked off, waved off the stretcher, walked off under his own power. Says he'll be back. He's got, 2 to 3 weeks, they said. It's an MCL strain. Hopefully that's the case because, you know, you hate to see that kind of crap in the preseason affect everything. And I'll tell you what, I watched the Falcons Jets. I think that was Sunday night, or it might have been Monday. Anyway, I think it was Sunday night. Falcons and Jets were playing, and I watched one of the defensive linemen for Atlanta get his legs taken out, right, as he's rushing the quarterback, and he falls onto his hands. His hands brace him as he hits the ground, right? But he's about 2 feet from the quarterback's feet. And he literally reaches out and tries to grab the quarterback as the quarterback is stepping forward to try and throw a pass. So he quote unquote hit him in the legs, the shin ankle area.
Right.
And they penalized him. And I'm thinking to myself, what is he supposed to do? Just say, oh, well, the quarterback's feet are here, but I'm not going to put my hand out because if I touch him, it's going to be a penalty. I mean, how do you regulate your body to do that? Here I am flying through the air. I'm landing with my hands. Ooh, there's the feet of the quarterback. That's the guy I'm trying to tackle. Let me reach out and tackle him. Anybody would do that. But apparently that's a penalty because you hit him in the legs. And I'm like, that's not okay to protect somebody that much. It's not okay. That one there.
And that's why quarterbacks can play forever.
If the tight end, if Thaddeus Moss had been blocked and he flew through the air into Thibodeau's legs, okay, he didn't have much control over it. That's a football play and it happens. But to call, I mean, when you're flying through the air with literally not much control over your body, to call a penalty on someone is kind of ridiculous. So yeah, it is weird.
Did they end up scoring off that drive?
No, well, it's the Jets, of course not.
That's fair.
the Jets can't score. That was ridiculous. I don't know. It was interesting. I just found it strange to watch and to see them call a penalty, and I was like, there's no reason to be calling penalty. The NFL's got some weird penalty things, and we're going to talk about college football penalties here in a minute too. So let's talk about college football playoff board of managers, which, and I looked at it once and I didn't write it down, but the board of managers is like these 11 university presidents,
right?
And I'm trying to remember if it was 11 university. I got to get confused because there's the board of directors too, which is different. Anyway, they were meeting and they were trying to discuss the future. What was one of those topics that was brought up? The future of major college football moving forward, and what is that going to look like, and what is the governing body going to look like? And they're literally talking about moving outside of the NCAA to control college football. Basically, the college football playoff committee would be in charge of major college football, the bowl subdivision, the FBS. I don't know how I feel about that. Will the NCAA still be in charge of sanctions, or will that not be a thing anymore? Because if somebody does something wrong, or will it just be the college football playoff people that are involved in sanctioning teams, or what? I mean, they probably don't even know the answer either. I'm sure no one knows the answer, but it just seems weird to be talking about it. I mean, I get it. You probably need to have some sort of plan in place because that's probably the direction we're going. But how do you put a plan in place for something you have no idea what's going to happen in next month, let alone next year? So it's kind of weird that they're talking about it, but I found it was strange that they just brought it up at a meeting, and I don't know how that would be so much transition,
right,
to do and hard to govern. I mean, I don't know. You almost have to have a joint thing, I would think. That's just me talking. The NCAA has to be involved from the rules and governing standpoint, unless college football playoff people are going to make all of the college football rules moving forward.
I mean, yeah, you just write a new rule book.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's like, okay, so they move out of the NCAA and they essentially start a new NCAA, but just for football. Kinda. It's not like you're losing management. You're not losing your corporate folk. You're just getting different ones.
But if it's just literally, hey, you guys at the NCAA, why don't you come work for us?
Right.
What's the difference?
Right. But I mean, if you look on the college football playoffs website and you scroll through their board of managers, first of all, it's a who's who of college football white people, and with a couple token minorities thrown in for good measure. Mid-American Conference president, the Mountain West Conference president.
That's what it was. It was like there's like 11 conference presidents, and then Notre Dame's athletic director or something. I don't know.
The president of Notre Dame, Reverend John Jenkins.
Yeah, Reverend John.
So but that's what it is. It's mostly presidents. But there are some that don't say presidents. Like this guy's name's Tim Caboni. It just says it said Conference USA president at West. Oh no, they're presidents of universities. Conference, president of the school, but
they're one representative from each conference.
Yeah, one representative from each conference. Actually, I see. Oh yeah, one from each conference. Our representative from the Pac-12 is Kirk Schultz, president of Washington State, and then the committee is the conference commissioners. So a C commissioner, Sun Belt commissioner, Pac-12 commissioner. So there's a little different. But basically, their description is that the board of managers is the company's business, property, and affairs are governed by the board of managers. The board develops, reviews, and approves annual budgets, policies, and operating guidelines. It also appoints and removes officers of the company. It has authority over all aspects of the company's operations. And then the committee basically serves the day-to-day stuff at the direction of them, with the exception of a few things that are specifically reserved for them, like appointing managers.
Which is separate from the selection committee.
Right, the selection committee. Yeah. Yeah, the management committee, and that's because the selection committee is rotating.
That's true.
It's changing every year, which I think that's probably
smart.
A good thing.
Yeah, absolutely, it's a good thing. It prevents
it from being too.
It's the reason why we should have term limits. That's my political statement. There you
go. Exactly.
It's
exactly right.
Don't have the same guy voting for the same thing for 37 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I kind of, and this year's selection committee is, it's a lot of people.
There's
again a who's who of college football white people.
I mean, mostly.
but yeah, that's just college football altogether. That's how it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's really interesting to think that they're putting forth this idea saying, hey, this might just not be the smartest way to do this. It might be better, for control purposes. It might be better for, ownership purposes to exist outside of this thing, because college football, I mean, let's face it, college football drives every other sport at the school.
And apparently the general feeling, and one of the reasons why they were talking about this is because that they feel like they're leaving too much money on the table with the current playoff format. And
well, yes, because they need to expand.
They absolutely do, but they're not going to apparently before 2025. But they discussed that possibility apparently too. And here's what I don't understand: why the current, from what I hear, the current leading format when they move from 4 is going to be 12. Why? What is wrong with 16? Why are you going to have 12? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Why are you going to have an odd number and give buys to people? Just don't do that. We want more. You want more college football? Put 16 teams in there and let them play.
I am never going to complain about them expanding. If they moved to 8, I'd be like, great, we'll take it for now. Then when I'll be like, let's move to 12. Okay, great, we'll take it for now. But just so slow to do any of it. I mean, people were griping and complaining about the BCS for a decade.
But it was terrible.
It literally from like the day one, from like, what was it, 1998 was the first year of the BCS or something like that?
Yeah.
Like maybe 99. Yeah. And people were complaining about it from the day it started.
And the BCS kept changing. And they and then oh yeah, well we got the AP poll and we got the coaches poll. Okay. And then we've got these 6 other matrices. We've got these other the computers say this is what the best team. How is a computer? It's only a guy programming in what he thinks is important into the computer, right? He's plugging in, I value touchdown passes over touchdown runs, and now this team is better than this team. That doesn't make any sense. The computer only does what it's told. So telling me that a computer says this team's the best team in the country is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. That's some guy's opinion of what's important. So why isn't he just one more voter on the AP poll or whatever? But that never made sense to me. Oh, well, we'll take a combination of these polls and these computer things, and that'll be where... That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And they did that for how many years? For a long time. And it shafted Oregon out of a national championship playoff or a national championship chance at a championship game back in 2001. Anyway, it happened to a lot of teams, and it was just weird. Anyway, then they got rid of it, and we're like, okay, finally, now we're gonna have a playoff, right? This is gonna be great. But is it though? Because we're still relying on 12 people in a room to tell us who the best team in the country is. There's no clear-cut way to do that, right? To tell us that that 4 is better than 5. How do you tell me that 4 is better than 5? The only way this works, and the only way you're going to get moving forward and you're going to get buy-in from everyone, is if you just literally go out and if you take 16 teams, you can't tell me that the argument is, the 17th team in the country is probably good enough to win the national championship. No, they're not. They're lucky to even be considered. So 16 is a good number to say, we've got the best teams in the country here. We're going to find out who the best team is on the field at that point. If you just take 4, you can't tell me the number 6 team in the country isn't better than them.
Right.
That wouldn't beat them in a game. You just can't. There's no way unless they've already lost to them, and then of course you could head-to-head it out. But I just don't like the system. There's no good way. That's the problem. There's no perfect way because it all relies on people and voting and.
And the closest way to perfect is a 32 team playoff that
64 teams, man.
That allows everyone a fairly decent opportunity. But even then,
Nah.
you look at the what's it called, the college football playoff for Division I FCS.
Yeah.
The FCS playoff, and every year there's somebody who's like, they got shafted. They should have been in.
And they get voted. They get voted in based on polls and whatnot. They have a committee.
They get voted in. I will say they very rarely get it wrong, but that's because they have so many teams to choose from. I think they do. Do they do 16
in the playoff?
In the college football playoff or for the FCS playoff?
God, maybe more than that. It's at least 16.
I think it's 16.
It might be right. I think it's at least 16. But anyway. Yeah.
But they do it right or better, I guess. But even then, there's people who will complain about it. So it's very tough.
Right.
You're never going to make everyone happy. You're always going to tick somebody off.
Yeah,
it just. Sure. But I mean, I think 16 would be a good number. 12, if they move to 12, whatever. Like we can make it happen. But dang, let's move on up.
Yeah, they need to fix it. I don't know how they fix it, but they need to fix it somehow.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the other thing that college football is, and that's targeting. They revamped the targeting rule. There were some other things that they did. The NCAA, who's still in charge of the rules, did this, but we've revamped the targeting. So it's getting a new look. Conferences now can appeal and request a review from the National Coordinator of Officials for a second half targeting penalty.
Right.
And if it's clear that the player was wrongly flagged, then that player can become eligible to play in the first half of the next game. Normally, they would be suspended for the rest of this game and out the first half of the next game. So it begs the question, what about first half penalties? Why do you get shafted if you have a first half targeting penalty that's wrong and you're going to have to sit out the rest of this whole game? That to me seems unfair. Why if it's in the second half, we can review it after the game. Okay. So, but that's not fair to those. Why can't you? You're already reviewing targeting. Targeting is an automatic video review. Why is the National Coordinator of Officials not already reviewing it while it happens? So, yeah. I mean, I know there's a lot of them, and I know that might be hard at sometimes, but I'm just saying, what's your take on this? Is it going to be fair and equitable? Is it just adding another layer of confusion to a confusing penalty to begin with? Is my question, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think it matters because I think they're going to get it. They're going to get it. They get it right most of the time. They get it right 95% of the time. So even when you go to the off season or you go after when you go after the game, I don't think it's going to change much. There might be the occasional one where they're able to sit down and look at it and go, oh, he was kind of more like blocked into that.
Right.
Like, oh, I didn't see that guy push that guy, which pushed him. Like, oh, I didn't quite see that. Maybe this wasn't intentional. Obviously, it'll still stand for the game. That's not going to change anything. Yeah. But, like, I could see you making an adjustment in post. It does suck that the guy from the first half doesn't get the same sort of, cred. But you're just done for the game is the way to think about it. Don't think about it first half and second half. Whenever you get kicked out, you're done for that game. You might be done for more of the next game, but you're at least done for that game.
It becomes a thing where if you got a targeting call 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter of a game, right, and you get thrown out and you miss the last 2 minutes of the game, and then they review it and say, oh, well, it wasn't really targeting.
Yeah.
Then you're going to miss 2 minutes of football. But if it happens on the second play from scrimmage in the first half, you're going to miss almost 4 full quarters.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but
that's not fair.
You're just done for the game.
But that's not fair. That's all I'm saying. It's not fair. They're not equal penalties.
You get to play next game. The other guy probably won't play for the first half of next game. So
it's not an equal penalty. And if we're not going to have equal penalties, then why do we have it? That doesn't make any sense. Just keep it the way it was. Don't have the review.
I think it's more of a non-issue. I think it's like, okay, they did this, but I would love to see the number of times that they've gotten it wrong.
And by the way, this only applies to games that actually have instant replay.
Yeah, so don't worry about that Louisiana Lafayette game.
Yeah, Western Kentucky's playing whoever, And no, that one
that actually probably will still happen.
You're not getting a penalty. You're not getting a review. Sorry.
Portland State plays Montana, and we have replay. Like, I'm just saying. So
that's
like
true. Everybody pretty should have it. Right?
Everybody has it. But the other things from that meeting where they said that they changed their blocking below the waist.
Blocking below the waist.
Yep. Yeah, they helped adjust that a little bit to make it a little more defined. They put in what I call the Kenny Pickett rule.
The Kenny Pickett rule. Yep.
Yeah, if a ball carrier simulates a feet first slide, they're down. So you can't act like you're going to slide and then jog in for a touchdown and think you're slick, Kenny.
That was, by the way, it was a great move. But
it should have
absolutely been a penalty flag immediately.
Every defender between him and the end zone stopped.
Yeah, absolutely.
They all stopped. And yeah, that's on them. But you don't want to encourage playing through the whistle.
Right.
You want to encourage playing to the whistle.
Correct. Exactly.
which is why they stopped. They're like, oh, I can't blast this guy into next world. But don't worry, the next week after that game, because he played like 2 more games. The next week after it, he went to slide and somebody got a roughing the passer flag.
Absolutely.
Because they went through him.
I would tell every single player on my team, yep, you better hit him. Better go make sure he's down, because he's not, if he fakes slides.
If he fakes slides and scores on you, you're coming out the game.
It's over.
But then the other thing they did was they made defensive holding will now have an automatic first down.
Automatic first down. And it does in the NFL. So
yeah, and I am very much on board with aligning the NFL and college's rules. They're damn near the same league, so just align them.
I will tell you this, that somebody needs to fix why every defensive penalty is an automatic first down.
But not every offensive penalty is automatic loss of down.
There's nothing that pisses me off more than watching a team in 3rd and 23, and there's an illegal contact penalty. It's a 5-yard penalty. Automatic first down. Bull crap.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah.
You know,
I think everyone agrees with that.
Yeah, but they don't want to fix it. They seem to everything is in the favor of the offense. It always is. And
the NFL doesn't want to get rid of their damn pass interference rule.
Right.
Spot fouls for pass interference is garbage.
It is. It should just be a 15-yard penalty, whatever, 10 yards.
15-yard penalty. Yeah. I don't know why holding's 10, but it's 15. Make them the same.
Right.
Yeah. Like, assuming if you're committing pass interference, you're probably holding.
More than likely, that's what you're doing. And what is the difference if I hold you down and keep you from jumping to catch a pass? It's pass interference. But if I hold you and the ball's not in the air, now it's just holding. Okay.
Yeah, but that's because one's preventative holding and one's reactionary holding.
Right. And I hadn't gotten through all my slides, but there's the actual official NCAA football targeting rule. Yeah, not that anybody cares, but that's what it says now. And then of course the new thing is that you can appeal it. But you've seen the targeting. I mean, you see it. Yeah. You see it every once a game. There's probably a questionable play that looks like it should have been called for targeting. Here's a notable one: the Clemson Ohio State hit on Fields. That bent him in half. Yeah.
That was a weird one where it's like you're starting to get into targeting when I pop you in the chest.
Yeah.
Like that's where you start to kind of lose me on the intent of the rule. The intent of the rule is to prevent head injuries, both to you and to them. So I kind of get that. Right. You're steering me right there, but it just
I know,
man.
It
just feels anti-football.
Yeah, and it doesn't get enforced evenly. It doesn't feel like most of the time. So I mean, I don't know. And usually this is what happens: is you get a meeting of officials and they have no idea what they're talking about.
Why is that one guy like 7 feet tall?
He is tall, isn't he?
Compared to all the other ones, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and say he's only like 6'2", and they're all probably like 5'8". But
I want to know why
there's a strong chance that everyone there's 6 foot and he's 6'6".
I want to know why he doesn't have the white hat. I feel like the tallest guy should definitely be the referee.
Oh, I think that's how they would have settled things in medieval times.
That's right. Exactly. Biggest,
man
strongest.
Gets it.
You're the guy. You're the guy. Let's talk about. You know what? We're gonna go back, and I don't have a thing for this, but that's okay. We're gonna talk about the Associated Press football poll. The college football rankings are out for the preseason for 2022, and this is your top 25 if anybody can read it. It's kind of as predicted about Alabama, Ohio State. That's what I would have said. I think Georgia might be a little overrated at 3. I know Notre Dame's overrated at 5, and we all know Texas A&M is overrated every year. So
Every year.
I don't know, but there are not a lot of teams when I look at this where I go, yeah, okay, that should be a top 5 team either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, Clemson, okay, maybe because they're the best team in the ACC. But
I do expect them to bounce back a little
I
bit, but
do.
we'll see.
I think Utah could have a good year. They could be better than 7. Michigan, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know. Oklahoma, I don't know how good they're going to be this year. There's a lot of question marks. I have a lot of these teams when I look at them, I go, I don't know. I really don't. And we won't know probably for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, you could say that about pretty much 8 through 7. I'd say Utah is in there too. You pretty much say about 7 down. You start going, it could be good, could be bad. Or sorry, 6. Texas A&M. Forget
Texas
about
A&M's
them all the
overrated.
time.
They're overrated.
Overrated. Yeah, they're gonna be either not in it or like 24 at the end of the year.
Notre Dame and Texas A&M are 2 of the most overrated teams that I've ever seen, just in college football, just every year. Texas
They
A&M,
love it.
A&M's going to lose 3 or 4 games. They are. And there they are at number 6, like they're going to be 10-2 at the end of the season. They are not. They're going to be 8-4, 9-3 at best. And you okay. They have to beat Alabama in order to maintain a ranking because there's nobody else ahead of them. Everybody else in their conference is, poor. Really. Let's be honest. This is one of those SEC things that I've been. The SEC West, Alabama, Texas A&M is on there, right? And then what?
Right.
The next one down is Arkansas. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't think. I mean, Arkansas is good. They had a good year last year. They're not that good. And then there's Ole Miss, and I don't think either of those are great football teams. I think the SEC West is down this year. Alabama's probably just going to roll right through it. I don't know that there's a team that's going to beat them. Georgia, the SEC East is on here, and the next SEC East team is Kentucky. Really? Okay. What about there's no Tennessee? There's no chance that Missouri or no? Is it that bad? This looks when I look at this poll, it looks like a down year in the SEC.
It does.
It just
based on that information.
Yeah. They're still but they did what they normally do. The poll did what they normally do, and that is throw teams together at the last minute that they think are, okay, so the Big 12 doesn't have enough teams. Okay, we'll put Oklahoma, Baylor, and Oklahoma State within 4 of each other. And then we'll put Arkansas, Kentucky, and Ole Miss from the SEC right together. And they do this all the time. And I'm like, how do you bunch them like that? There's no separation between Arkansas, Kentucky, and Ole Miss. You don't think any of them one's going to be much better than the other. And they may not be, but I don't think any of them are going to be any good either. So, I don't know, it's weird. It's weird the way the poll comes out. I don't like the poll. I don't like the preseason poll. I think it's stupid.
I think we all agree with that.
It adds for TV, for watching. I get it. We got number 1 and number 3. Okay, well that's a big deal. But is it? Because as soon as number 1 beats number 3 is number 3 anymore. So it's not a big deal, really. Anyway, I don't know. It's just weird. I wish they would get rid of the preseason rankings. Just start them with the college football playoff rankings when they come out. What is that, week 8? Yeah, just start there. There's no reason to have them ahead of time. I mean, no good reason other than money, which you think you're raking in more broadcast revenue because you say number 7 and number 8 are playing each other next week. Maybe.
Exactly what it is.
But those fans are going to tune in anyway.
Dollar bills, y'all.
I guess. Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Gotta fix that somehow. Anyway, but there's your top 25 poll. I don't think. I mean, the Pac-12 has what 3 teams on here: Utah, Oregon, USC.
Yeah, a good little group. Just
Yeah, I don't know how good USC is going to be. Everybody's giving USC a lot of credit. I've watched USC play a lot recently, and they kind of managed to be mediocre. Every year.
Yeah, but they finally. I mean, I do like Caleb Williams.
Sure.
I do think he's. I think he's pretty good. So I'll give them that they maybe solved their quarterback problem there.
They've had so many players though that have been, this quarterback's gonna be the guy. No, none of them really were. I mean,
no, I like that. No,
I mean every year it seems like we got another guy at USC that's the guy. This is the guy. Okay, and then how good are those guys when they get to the NFL? I mean,
no,
they're not. because they do the same thing Alabama quarterbacks do, which is maybe better than Alabama, actually. Because Alabama quarterbacks, you can't name me many successful NFL quarterbacks that went to Alabama. There just aren't any.
I mean, successful at Alabama?
No, yeah, that's different. Yeah, Joe Namath aside, there aren't very many. And then USC ends up being the same way. So in the recent history, Matt Leinart, Carson Palmer, those guys, Sam Darnold, none of those guys were great in the NFL. Matt Leinart was pretty good. Carson Palmer had a couple of good years too, but not gangbusters. Not NFL MVP or Pro Bowl type players really. So it's weird. I feel like USC is always in this boat. Oh, this is the year. Is it though?
Is this really the year?
Until Reggie and since Reggie Bush left, has it ever been the year? Anyway, that got him penalties anyway. So
yeah,
I don't know. Let's talk. Why does it go back to the thing? What? Because I have it set that way.
Well, before we move on to that, I want to bring up something because we were hating on Texas A&M pretty hard.
We do.
And so I pulled up their beginning ranking and their ending ranking.
Yes.
Since 2015.
Go.
So 2015, they were not ranked. They ended not ranked. 2016, they were not ranked. They ended not ranked.
Okay.
2017, they were not ranked. They ended not ranked. 2018, they were not ranked. They ended 16th. Ooh. So then the next year they started at 12.
Yeah.
Ended unranked. And then the next year, 2020, so this is the COVID year, so I don't know, started at 13th, ended at 4th.
Yeah.
But again,
played
the
5
COVID
games.
Year, man. Yeah, you had a bunch of cancellations in there.
Yeah.
And then last year, started at 6th, ended ranked. So in the past 7 preseason polls versus end of season polls, they've started ranked 3 times, and 2 of those times have ended unranked.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then every other time they've started unranked, and one of those times they ended ranked. So they're pretty much a non-factor, but they seem to get a lot of love. I'd be willing to bet you LSU would be an even worse one to look at because they got a lot of love for a lot of years when I didn't understand it.
They did too, yeah. And Notre Dame's one of those teams that I know that they're going to win a bunch of games and they're going to be highly ranked, but they don't play anybody, really. I mean, we stopped our series with Michigan. Why? Because Michigan got better?
They hired Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah,
you don't
it's
want
that
to
kind of thing that you get from Notre Dame where, we're going to be 11-1. Yeah, but who did you beat? I mean, who are you actually playing? Although this year I do think they play. Who do they play? Who's that non-conference game?
They've got a great game to start the season. Let me try and figure out who it is. I remember looking at the other day and I was like, oh, that's not bad.
I wanted to say it was Alabama, but I don't think it's Alabama.
It is. There's no way. There's no way Alabama would put that on tape.
It's like a big time game, though. I mean, I can't remember.
Notre Dame, Ohio State.
Ohio State, yeah, it's tip number 2. So that's a great football game.
Yeah. And this year they've got Ohio State, Marshall, Cal, North Carolina, BYU, Stanford, UNLV, Syracuse, Clemson, Navy, Boston College, and USC. So it's okay.
And all I had to do was get to our second thing of college football, which is this. The 10 best games of week 1. If I had just gone to this, I could have told you they played.
And there it is.
This is someone's independent and non-biased ranking of the 10 best games of week 1. And I'm okay with this. I think it's probably fairly right. I'm of these games that you see here, and I know we're Oregon fans and we're going to like Oregon and Georgia. The Notre Dame-Ohio State game is intriguing, although I would tell you that I think Ohio State will win that by 17 to 20 points. Meaning fairly easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Florida State LSU game, I don't care. It's going to be good for football because it's good, 2 storied programs and all that stuff. That's going to be great. That's fine. The Utah-Florida game is going to be good. I'm looking forward to seeing that. The Pac-12 has a chance to make a statement early. Will they? Is the question. Or will that happen? But Utah has a chance to go into Ben Hill Griffin, is that right? Ben
Hill Griffin Stadium.
Yeah. And steal a win over the SEC. Because I think Florida's not great this year. But anyway, Oregon and Georgia is going to be an interesting game. I can, I would put, if I had to bet my house, it would be on Georgia to win. I'm hoping Oregon can keep it close, but I just don't know. We'll see. We'll find out a lot about Oregon and Utah, I guess, because that's basically a road game. You can call that a neutral site game if you want, but when the game is 30 miles from your college, that is no longer a neutral site game, people. So,
yeah.
It might be 50 miles. I don't know. It might be different. But any of the rest of those games that are on there, notwithstanding the top 4, let's say, of the rest of those games, which of those games are you most interested to watch? If you had to watch one of those other 6.
Outside of the top 4.
Yeah.
Boise State, Oregon State is really appealing, but that's because I'm here. I know a lot of people. But Penn State, Purdue is probably the next big one that stands out to me as like, oh, this could be wild.
Those are, and their conference, the West Virginia Pitt and the Penn State Purdue game are conference games right off the bat. And I think Penn State Purdue will be interesting. That'll tell you a lot about both of those teams, because Purdue is one of those teams that, let's be honest, hasn't been great. But Penn State's one of those teams that is also usually overrated.
Absolutely.
Can I say that?
Yeah. No, you absolutely can.
Yeah. And then Clemson and Georgia Tech is an ACC matchup too. That's a conference game. It's interesting to watch them play conference games right in week 1. That never happens out west, really. I mean, not very often. But coming this weekend, I think, what is it? Northwestern and Nebraska are playing this Saturday. Is that right?
That sounds right.
I think that's like the kickoff. They're playing in where are they playing? England? Crap. I had it
England?
I had it written down. Yeah, they're playing like overseas. So anyway, I was pretty excited about it. But so there's that. We've got college football. It's gonna be exciting. I'm just telling you. I'm looking forward to it. We'll recap a little bit of week 0, which I guess we were officially in, is week 0. They call it that, and I have no idea why. But we're in week 0, and we'll recap that next week when we talk about when we do the show. But it'll be interesting. So let me get forward here because I got to get to the right thing. So the New York Liberty, Chicago Sky and New York Liberty played Game 3 last night in their best of 3. And why is it playing? I have no idea what's going on. I'll be honest with you. This thing is not doing what it was supposed to do originally. Now it's doing a slideshow, and I don't want it. Anyway, played Game 3 in their best of 3 first-round playoff series. New York stole Game 1 in Chicago last Wednesday, 98-91. Then they lost Game 2 in record fashion, getting blown out 100-62, largest playoff win or loss in the history of the WNBA. Last night in Game 3, New York fell behind 25-20 after one period. Never really could challenge Chicago after that. They did close it to 3 points early in the fourth quarter, but 16 New York Liberty turnovers were the difference, and Chicago scored in almost every one of them. Anyway, Chicago's going to play the winner of tonight's Game 3 between Connecticut Sun and the Dallas Wings. Anyway, you can watch that. It's probably over now, but it's on ESPN. But
yeah,
anyway,
it'll be over soon.
Yeah, so the semifinals are going to be set, and you're going to be having WNBA semifinals moving forward here. Let's see. I got to get to where I'm trying to get to because my pictures are all out of whack, and the world is broken now. So
that'll happen.
It happens occasionally, but we're going to move. So F1 is at Spa, Belgium for the Rolex Belgian Grand Prix on Sunday. Race starts at 6 a.m. Pacific. News today was that Danny Ricciardo will not be driving for McLaren next year.
Bummer.
That they have mutually agreed to part ways, and they bought out his remaining year of his contract, which is a way of saying you're fired.
You're fired.
I don't know how else to put it. But he is free to join any team he wants to in 2023 if someone's going to pick him up. Someone will pick him up.
Somebody should pick him up.
They should. Yeah, that's the thing, is that they should. But I'm looking forward to racing again. F1 is back, and I'm pretty excited about it. And, Spa, it's going to rain, right? It's going to rain.
Oh, for sure. It's going to dump.
In case anybody doesn't know this, the picture on the screen up here is last year's Spa Grand Prix, and it was a disaster. It rained.
Despite the rain, they still can't stop those people from
the orange smoke
from the orange smoke. Yeah,
it was a disaster. It was just a mess, and it rained the entire time, and it rained so hard that they couldn't see, and then they ended up canceling it, and they ended up awarding half points based on the 3 laps that they completed or something stupid. 3 laps under caution, like under a safety car. I don't know. It was weird, and but anyway, you never know what's going to happen at Spa. You do know it's going to rain. Which is
you do.
I feel like I don't ever want to go visit Belgium because I feel like it's going to rain. Yeah, it's going to rain on me every time.
Yeah, but that's part of the fun, right?
I guess. I don't know. It's weird. So Portland Timbers still trying to improve their playoff position after a 4-1 loss to Sporting Kansas City on Sunday. They play the Seattle Sounders Friday night, 7 p.m. Pacific on ESPN. Just giving you that little update. They're still in the playoff hunt, but they've struggled the last couple games after having like a 7-game unbeaten run or 8 games. They've been a little off. It'll be interesting to see. Little League World Series also going on in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. The championship game is this Sunday at 12 noon Pacific. That is also on ESPN. The rest of the action happens tomorrow and Friday. The semifinals are on Friday. The championship game's on Sunday. So anyway, if you like watching Little League Baseball, and it is fun to watch. I mean, it's baseball, and it's only 6 innings. And these kids still make mistakes, which is better than the professionals, really. So it makes it more interesting. I like watching.
Yeah, when the kids never make mistakes, it really sucks.
It really sucks when the game just goes by and nobody does anything wrong. What you're looking for is something out of the ordinary. Errors make baseball interesting. They just do. So, but anyway, that's fun to watch. Anyway, it's on Sunday, 12 noon Pacific, also on ESPN. Let's do do you want to do the trivia question answer, or do you want to have a minute? Do you have something to talk about?
Yeah. I want to talk about people in crosswalks.
Do you really?
I said I was going to talk about it earlier. Now, yeah, I had something else, but that was stupid. This is way better.
Okay, go.
Hey, everyone. It's Parker here. So, hurry the hell up. With everything you're doing in life, hurry up. That isn't to say be in a rush. That is to say, hurry up. Everyone walks slower than they should. Everyone crosses the street slower than they should. Move faster. People are waiting. It is so freaking annoying. There's like 10 lights that I have to go through, and then there's like pedestrian crosswalks. Like, go, move along. We're all trying to get places, right? And clearly you're just, out for a casual stroll on the greenway. Like, you can at least throw a little huss across the street so we can get to work. It's stupid. And if you have kids, move their damn ass along. Your kids should never be a reason I'm extra held up for the day. Super annoying. Move your dogs along, move your kids along, and they're, biggest of all, move your own self along. Just hurry up, people. There you go. That was a pretty good one.
I like it.
Yeah. It was funny because while I was on my way home, I had to stop for somebody in a crosswalk and wait, and they were moving just so slow.
Super slow.
So slow. And I'm like, and they weren't elderly, they weren't disabled, I wasn't watching. They were literally like they'd been running. They were, I kept seeing them checking their it's Apple Watch, like they had been out for a jog. But the time when they decide this is a good rest period while I cross the street. And as soon as I get to the other side, I'm gonna take off again. Don't take off now.
So now that you brought that up, I challenge, not really a challenge. I recommend that everyone who's listening go on the internet and type in Winston the dog mid-walk nap. So,
ooh, and I like that already.
And I tell you what happened. Winston is this tiny little bulldog, and he's adorable. And there's 2 pictures. There's a picture of Winston with his harness on, and he's ready to go for a walk. And that's what the owner said. This is Winston, and he's ready to go for his very first walk. And then there's another picture of him on the walk where he's laying in between these 2 giant rocks, like in a flower bed, and he's asleep. And they said, this is Winston in his first mid-walk nap.
First mid-walk nap.
And I'm like, yeah, I've been there. But I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Hurry up, people. Don't just take a nap in the middle of the walk. Anyway, but I mean, it was hilarious. So check out Winston if you get a chance. It's pretty awesome.
That's so funny.
Winston adorable.
Mid-walk nap.
Yeah, Winston's adorable.
I like it.
Let's talk about the trivia question, because we had a trivia question, and now I can't get the website to pop up. Because why would it? Our sponsor is having trouble with the Best Lamm Sports Show trivia question, brought to you by Stone Wine Estates in Hood River, the winery at the Vineyard, 3827 Fletcher Drive, 7 days a week from 12 to 6 for indoor and patio dining. Downtown tasting rooms open 12 to 6 Thursday through Sunday. 541-490-9461 for downtown. It is 541-946-3750. That's 541-WINE750 for the winery at the Vineyard. Make a reservation. Go taste for yourself. You can email them info@Stavenstone for more information. Stavenstone, winner of the 2021 Best Local Winery in the Best of the Gorge Awards. So, trivia question was, we're talking about the four major sports, football, basketball, baseball, and hockey. What team had the worst winning percentage in the regular season, went on to win their title in their sport that year? Do you know the answer?
Okay, so I thought I knew the answer, and I started thinking about it. It's a baseball team, right? They had a losing record.
So it is a baseball team.
They had a losing record.
They did not have
going
a
into the playoffs.
Record,
oh, never mind.
But yes, it was a baseball team. Just take a guess. Take a baseball team guess. Just see if you got
it. Dodgers.
Oh no. So it was the 2006 St. Louis Cardinals.
Oh.
The 2006 St. Louis Cardinals were 83-78 in the regular season, and they swept through the playoffs and won the World Series. They, by winning percentage, it's like a 51.56 winning percentage, and just slightly beat out some other teams that were also as bad. But I just was curious. I was just wondering how bad can you be and still win a title? Well, you just have to be above 500, apparently.
Yeah. Just barely.
Just barely. You don't have to win very many. That's 5 games above 500, and that's over 161 games they played that year. That's not very good. But it's enough. All you got to do is have a chance, right? Make the postseason, you got a chance. So, and I thought we ought to have that picture of the championship ring because there's ridiculous. Championship rings are ridiculous. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, they're not ridiculous. They're obnoxious.
They're obnoxious. They're huge. Anyway, and that's all I had for today, unless you got something else.
No, I'm done.
Okay.
I yelled already. I'm good.
It's the way you said it. I'm done. So again, we're on YouTube every week. We're on Twitter @Lamm Sports. We're on Facebook under the Best Lamm Sports Show. You can email us, lammsports@gmail.com. We want to thank ESPN, Fox Sports, NBC, CBS Sports, NFL, NCAA, Formula One, the WNBA, and of course our sponsors, The Range in Yakima, Boss Kitty Yarns, and Stavenstone Wine Estates in Hood River. And we'll be back next week, and we'll talk about week 0 of college football. We'll talk a little bit more about any NFL news and notes that have come up. We're going to talk about Formula One at Spa. We'll have a recap of that race and update you on the WNBA and the MLS and probably Major League Baseball, where we stand headed into the playoff push. All that and more next week. This has been a Brain Rock production, a division of Lonely Tree Media, LLC. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.